Welcome back, Fantasy Fiction Fanatics. It's great to see you again, and I hope you're doing well. Today's class is going to be another character analysis, and today's character is going to be Bupu, the Gully Dwarf. Thank you so much to the subscriber who asked me to do this analysis. I hope I do a good job and can truly break down this character for you. And thank you so much for letting me know what you'd like to see. If you or anybody else would like to have a particular character analysis done, please let me know. I'd be happy to do it for you. Okay, so I guess let's go ahead and jump right in with the analysis. We start always with the profile, which is just basically who is this character and where are they from. So this is a Gully Dwarf, like I mentioned. She helps the heroes of the lands when they are visiting Zach Saroth. Sorry, it's kind of a hard word to say. So I believe it's pronounced Zach Saroth in the Dragonlance Chronicles. So when they're in that area, she is the one that helps them out. When all the other Gully Dwarves end up mostly being only minimal help, she's the one that truly helps them in this section of their journey. So what kind of traits does Bupu have? Bupu was somebody I really had to think about the traits, like truly think about them, because there's a lot of traits that are similar in other characters that you can kind of off the bat be like, oh yeah, this and this and this, and then you just think, the hard part's about like really dissecting what you think their character is based on different things that they have done that are more pinpoint traits. But I feel like all of Bupu's traits, for the most part, were kind of pinpoint traits where I had to really think about it, think about what her actions signify, think about where her motivations come from, what she says, and pick out her traits that way, because she is a smaller character, and she's a little bit more of a complex character for being such a small character, meaning like she's not in a lot of the book. So there's less to draw from. There's less about her that we know. So I really had to go ahead and look at this character and be like, okay, what traits does she exhibit based on what she has done, and what do I think I can assume about her or kind of extrapolate about her from what she says and what she has done in the short amount of time that we see her. So let me know, of course, if you think I missed anything when this list I'm about to read off to you, or if you don't agree with anything. I'd love to know what your particular thoughts are for her traits. The first thing that came up with, this one was like the easiest one, and that is that she is resourceful. She's also confident. She is snippy, and what I mean by snippy is she's a little bit high and mighty. Kind of, I want to say that like on a low end of her being high and mighty, like not like that she's super arrogant, but that she's a little bit snippy or a little bit kind of holds herself higher than others. She is smart-ish, and I mean smart-ish meaning she's smart for a Gully Dwarf. And as we know, Gully Dwarfs are not the smartest people, but for her, she is smart compared to the others around her. She's kind, even if it is selective kindness. She does have kindness in her. It is just kind of selective, I will admit. And then she is brave and she is curious. So those are the traits that I felt like really came through based on what she did, how she acted, how she interacted with other Gully Dwarves, how she interacted with the heroes of the Lance. So that's what I kind of feel like her actions and her responses show to me, that is what kind of person she is. Of course, like I just said, I'd love to hear your thoughts and your opinions on if you feel the same way, or if you think I missed something, or think I got something wrong. Of course, you're also welcome to ask me about how I came up with some of them if you're a little bit confused on how I decided that those were her traits. But let's go ahead and move forward then to her role in the story. So her role, I feel like she has two different roles that really kind of come through in her little section of the book. And the first one is being an innocent. And I don't necessarily mean this in like a traditional sense of the innocent kind of archetype or role. Mostly the innocent is usually someone who like doesn't know anything about the world and who then has that innocence kind of shattered. So at the beginning, they're really innocent. At the beginning, they don't know anything. And then as they go through this journey and as they continue forth, their innocence is kind of shattered and melted away and destroyed in many senses. And that's kind of their progression. I don't necessarily see that progression in Bupu per se, where I don't really see her as starting off innocent and working to have the innocence taken from her. But I do feel like she is an innocent because Gully Dwarves are sure not the brightest bulbs in the bunch. But they also don't have lots of experience with the world either. I feel like Bupu is very limited in her scope of what the world is and how the world works. She only really understands it in the terms of how she lives with the other Gully Dwarves in Zaxarath. So she's not really familiar with, battles and giant wars and, the different races. She doesn't know a lot of other people, and what she does know is very limited based on who goes to where she lives. She hasn't traveled the world. She hasn't seen amazing sights. She's very innocent in the sense of knowing of the world. And that's why I feel like even though it is not the same kind of progression as a normal innocent kind of archetype, I do think it applies to her is that she's very much an innocent and can show the reader what it means to be innocent and unknowing about the rest of the world based on how she interacts with the heroes of the lands and how she interacts with the area that she lives in. And then I also feel like she is a representation of a explorer or a wanderer. So though she's not well renowned in, the world, that's where she has her innocent kind of dynamic. But then I feel like she also is an explorer or a wanderer for her small little area. Because there's many times that she mentions like, oh, go this way, don't go the other way, I know another path. Or, she mentioned the whole thing with the rat where she kind of had this motion that she had the rat and it kind of opened the door. So she experienced these things and she's wandering in areas that the other Gully Dwarves are not aware of or are not wandering. So she's trying to explore the outliers of her own area, of the own thing that she's familiar with. She's trying to expand her knowledge, at trying to understand the different things. And she's very curious. This is why I mentioned that in her traits that I felt like she was a very curious person. Is she likes to explore. She likes to wander around. She likes to understand things. She sees something like a door just that randomly opened and she continues to go there and she knows the path well enough that she can guide somebody else. So she is brave enough to face that unknown and to push the limits of her area that she lives in, and she's kind of on the outskirts, you could say, and she is experiencing those kind of wanderings and that explorer-based mentality, even if it's not on a big scale like the whole world, which is again how it leads her to be kind of more of that innocent archetype. Next, let's go ahead and talk about what she brings to the story. So we have her role in the story as an innocent and as an explorer and wanderer. But what does this role and her actions actually bring to the story? And how do we interpret what those things are? So I feel like, again, there are two different things that she brings to the story from her role and from her personality. And that is that the first thing is that she brings guidance. So she guides the group of friends through Zaxarath and introduces them even to her high bulb. So she is looking out for them and she has taken them kind of under her wing and she is now guiding them through this area that's had draconians and a bunch of other Gully Dwarves and lots going on there. It's not the most pleasant place. So she is taking responsibility for this group and leading them where they needed to go, and that is to see their high bulb, as well as she leads them all the way out. So for her, she is bringing guidance to these friends that have never been here before and don't know what the heck they're doing, and there's a lot going on, and they need help. They need someone who knows this area, and Bupu is the best choice. And she clearly takes up that role all on her own after Raslin does wave and make that spell for them to like them. She's the only one that stays and actually really guides them and brings them forth as they're needed. So she is truly their guide and is informing the group and teaching the group and guiding them, as well as us as an audience. So we get to understand more about the Gully Dwarves. We get to see more about the area that she's in because she is guiding this group as well as us as the readers along with her. And second, this is also kind of tapping into the same thing, is she is a doorway for us as a reader to see and understand the life of the Gully Dwarves. She is kind of our conduit of being able to look into this culture, into this group of people, I guess I would say. I mean, I know that they're not really people in the same way as like a human, but I still think that they would be considered people. So this group, and seeing their culture, we're seeing how they live, we're seeing how they're treated. We're understanding, based on what she said, that you have to follow certain things as a Gully Dwarf. You have certain protocols. We had that secret knock that had to be known in order to see the high bulb, though it didn't seem like anybody actually knew what the code was. But I mean, I feel like if you were a human trying to make yourself seem like you were a Gully Dwarf that knew the code, you could not do it. So that in itself kind of made it a secret code, I guess. But you really understand how much of the underdog these Gully Dwarves are. They are really the underdogs. They're looked down on even by the friends in the group. We understand how the Gully Dwarves are treated, how the Gully Dwarves are viewed as. We're seeing the struggles that they have in this society, as well as what they make of it. And Bupu is that conduit for us to see. Because even though we do experience, the other Gully Dwarves and as they're all doing their thing, however, Bupu's the one that really gives us that inside look. She's really the one that's expressing the details of things. She's the one that's truly helping the reader understand, as well as the friends understand, what is going on and how she feels and the whole notion of everything. So Bupu is very important for what she brings to the story and the fact that she is guiding us through and she's letting us see exactly what Gully Dwarves are, what they do, and how they are treated in this world. Next, let's go ahead and talk about her goals. So again, I found 2 goals. It seems that for Bupu, there's a lot of 2s going on in each of these sections. But for her goals, I've got both of them relating to Raslin. So the first one is that she really wants to please, to help, to guide, to do whatever is needed to be done in order to make Raslin happy. Now, this could be a part of the spell that he casts on her. It's a little bit tough to know, but that is the goal that she has based on that moment, or whatever it is that's drawn her to Raslin, if it is not actually the spell throughout the whole time. So by an extension, her goal is also to help the group that Raslin is with, but in the end, really what her goal is to please and to make Raslin happy. And so that's why she's doing anything and everything that she can in order to do what he asks, to show him where he needs to go, all of that stuff. That is basically one of her main top priorities in the times that we are seeing her. And the second one is to be with Raslin as long as possible. She follows them out of Zaxarath. She is intending to leave Zaxarath. She would leave everything that she knows behind in order to follow him. She brings the book that he was seeking, the spell book, and gives it to him. And so really all she wants to do is to please Raslin and to be with him and to follow him wherever he may go. Unfortunately, that last goal is not as long as she would like. That was kind of cut short in the fact that Raslin does send her away and makes her go back to her people. But if she had it her way, her goal would have been to stay with him. Next, let's go ahead and talk about Bupu's relationships. Relationships can be very important to a character because different people can have different influences on who a character is based on their interactions with them, based on another person's beliefs that influence theirs, based on how they treat the other person. It could be very important for how they view themselves and how they conduct their own affairs. And there is a very important relationship in the time that we see Bupu, and that is her relationship with Raistlin. So we understand that her goals are all about him, and we do understand that he cast a spell on the Gully Dwarves in order to have them be friendly with them, to see them as a friend, not a foe, so they would not be harmed in any way, and that they could then get the guidance that they needed. However, it is unsure, at least in my opinion, that this spell lasted, the whole time that she was there, and it was 100% the reason that she liked Raslin so much. I truly feel like it could possibly be at the beginning that she was going off on because of the spell and doing it because of the spell, and then I do believe that there is a chance that maybe she just truly came to like Raslin. And maybe it is just the spell, we don't know. But either way, it was important to her. Especially because even though he cast that spell, and it was kind of particularly to him, she was not happy with any of the other people in the group. So it does make it a little bit unclear on exactly how this relationship was established and why she was so nice to him. But we do notice that Raslin was very, very, very nice to her. He treated her very well, especially considering, Flint, who hates Gully Dwarves, was treating her very poorly. We know that the others would make comments that were kind of looking down on her. Not saying that they were trying to be mean per se. I'm not saying that they had a bad character in that way. But they did not take the Gully Dwarves seriously. They did not necessarily treat her 100% respectfully because they don't have the best view of Gully Dwarves. But Raslin 100% treated her with kindness and with respect. And in many ways, he kind of saw himself in her. They kind of had a mutual feeling of like they're both the underdogs. They've both been treated badly in their lives. They've both been under-respected. They've both been underestimated. And that forged a little bit of a bond between them because Raslin understood that and he respected her. So yes, the spell might have originally, made it so that way she wanted to hang out with Raslin and wanted to do what he asked. But at the same time, he treated her very, very nicely. And he treated her so good that she even, without being asked, just heard about the book that he wanted and brought it for him. That was not something that he expected of her. And yet she braved it to do it because he's the one person that did not treat her poorly, did not, think badly upon her, and truly understood her circumstances. So that relationship was very, very important. And though we don't get to see exactly how Bupu ended up after, the heroes left and went on their way, but I like to think that maybe that relationship stayed with her a little bit longer. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. It's tough to say. But I'd like to think that that relationship was something that stuck with her and that mattered and that helped her even more so after she got back to know that there was somebody out there who cared about her and who treated her good. Now, last but not least, I'd like to just talk a little bit about her being a Gully Dwarf. Because her being a Gully Dwarf is actually a big part of her character. We don't always talk about exactly what race a person is or what kind of a creature or being a character is because it's not always like if you're just a human, it's not going to be quite as much of an impact versus some of these other races or beings that we talk about. And I feel like being a Gully Dwarf is really important for Bupu's character because first of all, that's the culture that she comes from, is, you know, the life of being a Gully Dwarf. It obviously affects how she's viewed by other people, viewed by other races, that kind of stuff. And so she, at this point, because she's a Gully Dwarf, is living on the fringes of the world. She's been kind of thrown to the side, given the place that nobody else wants. She's forced to live there. She's forced to be invaded by the Draconians and to be whipped and to be treated poorly. And nobody's going to come there and save them because that's who she is. And that is very much reflected in how she feels about herself and outsiders. It's why the Gully Dwarves are angry about the outsiders and how she treats only Raslin very good, because the other ones did not treat her very good either. And it shows that she has been treated poorly. It shows that she, as a Gully Dwarf, is underestimated, how she is looked down upon. And those are all important for a character. Luckily, she is somebody who is confident enough to be okay that she's a Gully Dwarf and to be proud of being a Gully Dwarf and to not let people bring her down and make her feel poorly about herself and not get back up and fight back a little bit. She's got that feistiness, and that feistiness is part of who she is. She's got that confidence. She's gonna bite back if you try and bite her. And so that is a big part of why that trait has come to be, is because she's been tired of being looked down on, and she is not going to take it from anybody, which is really amazing considering how, you know, she knows that all Gully Dwarves have been treated. It also explains why she has such a simple life, you know, why she has not had these grand adventures, and that she is that innocent person, archetype that I talked about. Her life is very simple in those caves. She doesn't have to deal with major wars or what's good by the law for elves and, you know, dragons and all that kind of stuff. She has a very simple life down in Zaxxarath, and it's not a great life, and it's not necessarily a good life based on how we've seen her be treated and the others around her be treated. But at least it is something that she knows and that she has learned to master on how she can make her life as best as it possibly can be, considering the circumstances. So, yeah, and it also helped her be resourceful. That's another reason that she's very resourceful, is that she's been forced into this area and she's got to make do with what she has. And I think that she is an outstanding Gully Dwarf. And I think that it's too bad that she is only given the small amount of time that she's had. But she was very, very important and very, very helpful for the section that she was in, and how she truly helped these heroes get to where they needed to go in order to defeat the Queen of Darkness. So that's everything I had on Bupu today. Please let me know if you think I missed anything, if you think I forgot anything, should have mentioned something else, whatever you think I'm wrong, whatever it is, I would just love to hear about it and see what you think of Bupu yourself. All right, so now that we are at the end, let's go ahead and just go over our trivia question before we go ahead and wrap up. This week's answer was Mischief Manage, since that is what you say in order to close the Marauders map. Nice job to Brendan, who answered it and got it correct. Thank you to everybody who participated in this week's trivia question and submitted your answers. I really appreciate seeing them and have a fun time playing with you. If you yourself would like to look at this next coming week's question and answer it and participate, we would love to have you play with us. You can go over to the blog, fantasyfictionfanatics.net, and answer the trivia question there. It will be on the right-hand side for desktop. You'll just have to scroll down just a little bit, and then you'll be able to see it. On mobile, you'll have to scroll almost all the way down to the bottom of the page, and then you will see it there. So I'd love to see your answers for this next week's question if you decide to play with us. I'd also love to hear from you, as I said before, about anything regarding Bupu or anything else. So you're welcome to comment down below. Or if that doesn't work for you, you're welcome to go ahead and find me on Twitter, which is at fantasyfiction1. You can talk to me there, as well as follow all my updates for content and other things. You can also do the same thing on Facebook, which is /fantasyfiction1. Be happy to hear from you there, or for you to be able to follow and get updates there as well. If you would like to join our Discord, we would love to have you. We already have several fantasy fanatics over on the Discord, chatting together, getting to know each other, talking about different kind of fantasy. and all the other kind of fun things. You can also direct message me on there if you need to get a hold of me. I'd love to hear from you. The link for the Discord server is down below, and it really is a great place to be able to talk to other people who love fantasy just as much as you do. And I think that is it for me today. I hope you guys had a good time with this character analysis, and I will see you guys in the next class. Bye!